the world. It is because they were forced to use their own medicine, and now they are the evidence of the medicine working on themselves. You get it? They became the
No,
own
yeah, now we
consumer
get
of
it.
Akwana
their
masi
own.
wakutitorera mapoints
Now,
ekuti mara.
now
Naya
we are
How
on
komana.
the
did they
same page
discover
because
that?
indeed,
Ayo
They
masida
could
because
wambomira
read.
now
tambotaurawo
what
Yes,
you are
mombonzota
speaking
that
to
totaurawo.
is the
abstract.
fact that
Yes,
Chimbomira
the
itimbotaurawo because
abstract.
muchazoita kukopa
because now we
ipanapa.
are speaking to the fact that we think about now,
Yeah.
and the leaders
Okay.
benefit from us thinking about now.
Okay.
So for them to
Ndinduka
say
next
food
ka.
security first,
Chimbo
and then
madue.
you write, okay,
Madue.
now we're together.
Let me
Can
present
I
it
make
this
a
way.
30-second correction, please? It'll take
Aiwa,
me
no, please
even 10
wait.
seconds.
Aiwa, please. Let's that
It'll
to
take me 10
those.
seconds, Padare.
Aiwa, Chimbomira
Padare, we
on.
came before
Just
Ah,
you.
that's
yes,
Relax.
just because Sarang
just
about
10.
Dinduka next.
Yes,
I've
but
always been here.
mine is a
Padare,
correction. It
I've
takes
been
10
here on
seconds.
God and I've been dropping. I've been here. I've been
Michael
told I'm
Gove
going
did
next.
not.
drop
Michael
again,
Gove
you
did
come
not
back.
Aiwa, no, you
get a
drop again
speeding
on God.
ticket.
I'm going to
It was
present.
Chris Hume. Chris Hume got a
No.
speeding ticket.
All
It
right.
was
Thank
not
you.
Michael Gove. That's the
Okay.
only
Thank you.
correction I wanted to make.
Thank you. Thank
Because we
you. Let
should
me
stick
go
to
on now.
facts. We should not
Thank
be
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
No,
you.
he said he may be wrong. He
Yes,
Thank
must be
so
you.
I'm
wrong.
correcting because he
Okay.
accepted
Thank
that he
you.
might be
Thank
wrong.
you.
That's
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. You see, from my position of earlier
All right,
on.
thank you, Christopher.
Yeah. From my position
Who
of
is
earlier on.
following next?
Padare, I'm on it.
Interesting,
No, Padare,
Yeah,
relax, relax.
please,
interesting.
on God, don't do this. And we respect you all the time, Star.
Christopher,
And it,
Coming,
it was me coming. I was straight, but
sorry,
coming, guys.
it was me coming. Why is it that you don't like me to
Christopher
talk?
is
No,
not
It was
unmuting his
Padare,
mic.
guys. It was
No,
Padare.
no, 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 no.
I'm
Tsepo,
not sure
please.
of the order.
Tsepo, let me go on, please. I've been waiting for a long time.
But
You
he's
see,
about to cry.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm not crying. The whole point is, I think what people are coming to now are answering to the position of where you
Chris
began. Ah, is Tsepo listening?
is not
Tsepo
It
an
hearing
was
me?
He's
important.
Padare.
saying
Padare.
Chris should talk.
Tsepo, I don't think Tsepo
Christopher,
can hear me.
But he's going to cry.
Tsepo, please. Okay. For me, I told you we have to understand it's not just about leaders. You can have the greatest leaders that you can think about, leaders who have the best solutions, someone who's fit, who's good. If that is what you are looking at, someone who can be so
so I'm
intelligent.
stuck now in terms of who should follow.
Chapang,
Because,
Uh,
yes,
you know when you're out, you come back and we are talking when someone is submitting. You have a
yeah.
leg
Padare is
on your
talking,
connectivity.
Tsepang. That's why I keep making a joke against Padare, saying he's going to cry.
Okay.
We'll let you know when he
I
talks.
did hear that.
I know you didn't
I
hear
was,
it. Sorry, there's a glitch.
I was talking when someone was making a submission.
Yes, yes, you
Yes,
were.
Padare is submitting.
He's
What
about to
is this
cry again.
again? I want the mirror Padara.
Why should I
Alright,
wait?
continue Padara.
Yeah. So earlier on, when this topic started, I actually said for us to really understand how, because civilization, we had our own civilization in Africa. We had the pyramids, we had Great Zimbabwe, we've got all these areas that we say ruins, there was trade going on. We had our people already dealing with the minerals that we talk about, gold, they were making gold, they were doing, they were actually making iron. We know that they were making iron because so they traveled through some level of development, through their own challenges and poverties, like what Mazi is saying. But it did. But how did that stop? How did that stop? For me, the whole point comes back again to the system, and say to yourself, when you're looking at the systems, then you could say to yourself, who conquered you? Who stopped that brief motion of your time? So when you do that, then you become to understand the battlefield of where the trajectory may be, where you need to go, because our forefathers are not here, but we have to start thinking in our own self, and say to ourselves, how were we beaten by these guys? And the answer to what Masi was talking about, in terms of systems and so forth, you have to look at the scramble of Africa first of all. For me, I think because that's the nearest. If I have to go into a historical narrative of deeper, people might just start with, okay, how did the British fight the Reds? How did they fight this penicillin? But if we start from a point of maybe all of us could look at and going forward in terms of the colonizer, how did they become superior in themselves, because they're already feeding themselves? The food was also the shortage of food, but what developments are allow them to move from where they are to go into other areas to conquer them? We know that you need for, there's about three, I remember from the time that we were looking at strategies in warfare. You look at interlocking systems. What are these interlocking systems that makes a people conquer if you want to go? So logistics is a critical piece of that. You got to think about yourself, so how do you get from one point to another in order to conquer someone? So you start thinking about how the Europeans managed to to build machines, build ships and so forth. You also look at the medicine, because remember in Europe there was also mosquito. I'm sure a lot of people have never really looked. Why is it that you can't find mosquito in your home in the UK or wherever you're in Germany or somewhere in Europe? You don't see mosquitoes flying into your house unless if you're in the field and you get bitten by little things. How did they fight the mosquito? What medication did they have? What was the development of penicillin? How did these people could what you call it again? Is it quinine or I forgot about that? Yeah, quinine. How did they, the prophylaxis against malaria? Because remember, malaria is ravaging throughout Europe and everywhere else, but in Africa and so forth. So ask yourself: so if people are going to conquer,
Quetiapine.
Queen was I think
Quetiapine.
queen. I don't know whatever you want to call it nowadays. So if that's what you've developed. So ask yourself within this system. So they've developed a prophylactic about about medication. So it means they can move and move forward. So within these systems, again, in terms of logistics, how were they controlling the movement of the ships? It's not individuals. The whole military attire, military people who are doing all the upgrade of the ships and so forth, and carrying cargo and allowing movements from one place to another. And then I think I mentioned earlier in my first submission the Maxim gun. The Maxim gun, what did Maxim gun do for these people in terms of moving forward to, to feed their hunger, to finish some of their poverties, because they had to go somewhere and become supreme and actually take the resources they need. So we had, and Shaka Zulu had developed, I say this in my first submission, we had developed their systems of fighting, but it was just the internal fight. They were fighting within Africa, within a small little place. Kudaba, I don't know, Roma, people from the Ndebele side, I don't know, and so forth. It was never to think about who lives beyond those waters. What's beyond the waters that I'm looking at when the Shaka Zulu is at Durban, beach? Who lived there? How do I go beyond these waters to the other side? There was never that push, because the systems. Maybe I don't know. Maybe someone can try to educate me. The hunger to move forward beyond the internal and move external and looking at that. So these people who are coming to us, they were already started thinking with what's beyond there. What can we get there? But we have the disease. How do we manufacture medication that is going to make us go to these places and so forth? They also developed further, as we see, financial systems. From the logistics, they've developed financial systems which are up to date, strangling us and choking us to the point that you have to think, where is IMF? Where is the World Bank? We need their approval, because Africa, I'm not talking about Zimbabwe, I'm talking about the question, it says Africa. Where is the African financial system that can actually boost our own people, move them forward to where they want to go in terms of agriculture, in terms of development, in terms of research within what we already have? Because we need that. We need, how do we tie into these financial systems and so forth? They also brought in, as far as we look into it, the title, the value to things, the value to things within the financial system. Ma-titles avo kuti kubva apa nepapa nepapa pachaita mari yakati, this land ichakosa. So they created another value, which created a value in the individuals that are partaking either in business or building furthermore into whatever they are looking into. Kuti wadakuenda kupi, wadakuenda kumunhu, wadakuenda sei. So these are the little new ones, from what Masi was talking about in terms of the food business that is, that she spoke about in China as an innate position of a Chinese system. What the Chinese looked at, close the doors, let's feed, and then let's look at developing things structurally from that position. But if you look at the greater position of this scramble for Africa, these people are already doing it as a one. They're already seen how they've tested themselves, but they are moving as a one system that is to conquer a land that has got all these resources, because they had already walked the path of knowing what's in this place from their small little trades. But now they are going for the kill, the killer instinct with these people. In defense studies, they literally.
Please
I'll end. Let me just break off and say, one of the biggest things that soldiers are taught is the ability to kill. Why are you being taught how to kill as a formation? It is the survival of that unit, because your mission intent is to go and conquer. So if these people are saying to themselves, as a group, as a killing system, their survival position is to say, how do we take this beast, this whole of Africa, and make it ours? How do we make it ours? Because we want it to work for us, to make things work for us, the resources to work for us. You can't do that if you don't have a killer instinct. You really have to have this killer instinct of destruction. Kuti kwatiri kutoenda ikoko kuti kutosiya we scoop and run. You have a classic example of killer instinct missions happening even right now as you look at Israel. Look at America. You look at the wars that are going on. These are not. You look at Maduro being extracted from Venezuela. This is killer instinct. It's a survival instinct of a people saying, we want to conquer. We want oil for the next generation, the next generation, for the next generation. This, I've always had African debates when you go to these African debates, on Pan-Africanism, and always ask them, Africa cannot even defend. It's Africa. I'm not talking of Zimbabwe. It's Africa. It does not even have one strong military force that can actually finish a war. Classic example, DRC. Nothing is there from a survival instinct, of a killer instinct. We've got an enemy there in one of the places where it can generate electricity for the whole of Africa. But as an Africa itself, we don't even have that force that can protect it. Look at Nigeria. I mentioned Nigeria earlier on how the British divide, rule, and conquer. Nigeria, if you look at it from a historical standpoint, is two countries, the North and the South. Why did they not do the same like I gave earlier an example? Why did they divide North Rhodesia and South Rhodesia? But they kept Nigeria the way it is. India, Pakistan. Why did they remain the way it? Could they go to the Kashmir region, divide these two countries and make them that way? You go to Nigeria, the one is regionally divided by there's Muslim North and the Christian and other religions down South. Why did they put them in one? Because they knew that you will never fuse. You always fight and you never come to one concrete motion in your ability to move forward. So they already put these measures for you to continuously fight within your own systems, your own ways, and forget about building systems. But how do we come to breaking them? What's the solution now moving forward? We got to think about Africa itself. You have to have systems that allow you to total governance. You have to reverse engineer everything that you've been taught by these people. You have to come up with laws that will protect and create systems. It's like as an issue we have been. I'm not bringing politics into it too much. We're talking about Zimbabwe. What's the best governing system for ourselves in presidency selections and so forth? We've had an experiment for the last 10, 15, 20 years. But as a people, we are arguing every day that that system is the best for us, and yet it has created more troubles for ourselves. We are not. We are scared to innovate past what is there, because we think we are going to lose out somewhere. Someone is going to lose out, but you're not looking and saying, what if fumble in that direction and make ourselves longer governance? Because that's what they had. These people, they did not have short-term governance for this to work. They did not. They had long governance systems that allows them to push this position, whether from if you look at the authoritarian majority of Europe was.
But wait there. Let's learn to cut our submission short.
Yeah,
Because people end up
Thank you,
not picking your point.
but it is
thank
a
you.
presentation. Like if it is my voice, it not am da da da.
Of course, you're not giving time limit there.
Yeah, but
You all
if it's
fire.
my voice, not am da da da. But can I read
I
a
don't
master?
care
Read da
that.
da da. Can I
Let's
read
let's
a
learn.
moon? Read da da da.
Let's I
Yeah.
I
what I'm addressing
was
you.
No. I'm only
a
saying. I'm only saying because this I'm passionately love this topic
Yeah.
because.
We know passionate can take
Yeah.
over. That's why we're
Yeah,
saying
but the point is that
you're not
if Madhu and
listening. You're
Masa
not
are talking,
listening. Are you
the
listening?
time yavari kutaura zvinhu zvavo.
Padari.
Yeah.
You're not listening, Padari. I'm not stopping you. We want to listen to you. But learn to cut it in short. I'm not shorting saying it maybe you're speaking more than 20 minutes now.
All
Nobody's
right.
stopping you. And end up going other way around. You understand?
Yeah.
So maybe you must start using ChatGPT like what I'm doing.
Manje
So
ndikataura
that it
nechat
can
GPT.
guide
This
me
is
just to bring my point.
information learned at Defense College.
Yeah, but we end up not
Nekudzidza
following
saka
what you say because it's
ndangokupaiwo
too much.
twandakadzidzawo.
Information is too much,
Too
Padari.
much.
So
Okay,
what can
sorry, I
you
should have not
moderate the
learned a
session?
lot. But when I'm
Can you
coming in and
moderate
out,
the
it's not
session?
matter.
Otherwise, I'll drop you out. And then another host.
Sorry, I'll foot. I will never bring anything chakadzidza next time. Nongazvina nharo dzisina nebasa panapa.
thank you, Daddy.
Ndoita nharo dzisina nebasa
Host,
rese
I
ndodzvamunoda
didn't
dzekoti Zanu ndokangadza
host,
stage.
and didn't
Eh,
host
ndozvamunoda
business.
izvozvo.
Oh,
Anyway, okay, that is all. From a point
You
of
have
debate, I'm
co-host
gonna land and
table.
say,
You have
I
co-host.
didn't host privilege
okay,
on my side. I can't
Okay,
mute
I'll
people. I
send.
can't do.
I'll send now. Right.
Why
Let's your
not do
submission should be
so
short.
Barakano?
for
That's all
me,
what we say.
I will say in landing, look at colonialism in the colonial systems, the way they worked. I'm now talking from my own experience. Kutizo, how do these people conquer? So if you can look at it, reverse engineer that and make it work for your own people, because that is the only way. Close those doors, experiment, let people. Mumwe munhu anofana kungofa for no reason because maexperimenta zvikaramba toti okay zvaitikirwei toti no madoctors edu anga achiedza kuita zvakati toti sorry tokombenzeta. Let's look at how we can push innovation. Kuti how is it indenge ngani dzadonha dzagadzirwa nevafana kuuniversity of Africa that have just dropped and saying, oh, there was a tragedy that two kids that were experimenting with this prototype of thing has fallen and killed people. Absolutely none. But tikabvunza kuti varoi vangana vari kunzi vadonha munhu achinzi zaaenda kudonha achienda kunoroya vangani you see we have to think different in order to make Africa, I'm not talking of Zimbabwe, to make Africa move forward from where it is. Many thanks.
Move Padari.
Sorry guys, I was
I think the
next.
first point
I'm almost
also
crying here like
we
Padari.
also need to get rid about the spread of Pentecostalism is also underdeveloped thinking and innovations as well, because I mean witchcraft and Pentecostal.
I was asking was saying, is there educated Africans where I spoke about leadership?
educated Africans, degreed, who need leadership position. And I said, they need to be put where they are supposed to be. Not everyone is a leader, and there's levels of leadership. So if leadership is more than the technical skills you bring. It now comes to resource allocation, to just that having that gravitas to move things. So I think we're answering different questions. But I do agree systems are important, but systems are built by investing in the future. So right now, you should be looking at the systems that Zimbabwe will need in the future. You should be looking at the type of leadership that Zimbabwe will need in the future, the type of leadership that will take Zimbabwe to the next level. That's why we fail between after colonization and to the next level, because we have leadership for someone was saying bush mentality for the bush. I think it was in the last space. It was Utrecht that our leaders are still in the bush. But if we had forward thinking, those leaders should not have made it past a certain level. That's what I was saying on leadership and on the leadership aspect. But we need forward thinking as a continent.
Hello, sorry, can I please make a quick correction, please?
When am I gonna speak?
Wait. Cost, you were told by Scotty how it should be run. So I'm still trying to familiarize. Take over, Christopher.
Please, may I make a quick correction, please, co-host, please?
I've been waiting and waiting,
Wait. Co-host, are you there? Chris?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so to take the lead. Guys, you need to be a patient. There's no need to do Chambanja here.
Okay, we're gonna go with Marcy, and then we'll go with Padare, and then Zimbabwe.
Wise Up has been skipped too many times. He keeps being given an opportunity and then ignored.
Wise Up, Marcy, Zimbabwe, then Padare.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Marcy. The space was rigged. Thank you for your intervention. Yes, so I wanted us to just look. I think I'll start by what Professor Walter Kamba said, the first Black Vice Chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe. He served at the university for 10 years, and he did extremely very well during that time. And he decided, he said, you know what, I'm not gonna extend my term. My term is up. And then they said, oh, but Professor Kamba, you're doing very, very well, extremely very well. You know, you must continue, because you have done so well. You've been able to address the challenges of post-independence in Zimbabwe. Make sure that the university has been able to actually offer places to majority of Black students who were previously disadvantaged. And he said, leadership is about knowing when to leave than when to arrive. And he said, it's very important to leave when all you people still love me, because I've got a legacy to protect. I don't want you people to kick me out or escort me out of the office, because I would have overstayed my welcome. So I think that's one thing most of our leaders felt. They felt to that litmus test of knowing when to leave than when to arrive. Okay, I'll stop there. I wanted us to kind of talk about, we've been talking about leadership, we've been talking about systems, we've been talking about for those who like to read, I want you to read a book written by Professor Claudia Marari and Senyo Aipoloso. The book was published in 1997. It's entitled "The Human Factor to Development in Africa." The human factor to development in Africa. So what Dr. Mararike and Professor Senyo Ajibol also talked about, they said that there are human factor characteristics which are required for people to lead, for a country to develop. They talked about integrity. They talked about honesty. They talked about diligence. They talked about accountability. They looked at how the Japanese society was organized and how it has managed to develop, and they find out that the Japanese society, those characteristics were the main factor that led to the development of the Japanese, because there was that um, sense of community, honesty, trust, and there was that kind of what they call the Kaizen principle of the Japanese, where they say small improvements daily. When you do a small improvement daily, in the long term, that small improvement will result in a massive improvement. You see, so what we are lacking in Africa, we focus more on academic, we focus more, but we are forgetting that they are very. We need those essential human factor characteristics. We need people who are honesty. We need people with integrity. We need people who are accountable, who know that they are accountable. They all they of responsibility. And that's what lacking in Africa. We have got people, we have got people who have got PhDs. Dr. Mararike and Ajbol also argued in their book, Human Factor Approach to Development. They said that we have got so many educated people in Africa academically, but they lack these essential human factor characteristics. And Dr. Mararike went on to say that the reason why we have got a leadership crisis in Africa, the reason why we have got corruption, poor development, lack of accountability, leaders who think that the country is their personal property. He argued that that's a sign of a human factor decay. He's saying that those people who behave, who are misleading who are misleading, whether it's at community level, whether they are, whether it's a business, whether it's an organization, whether they've been trusted to lead the country, but they are misleading the country. He said, Dr. Marek argued that those people, they lack the human factor characteristic, and they've got what he called human factor decay. So I think that's the issue. We need to focus more on developing human factor characteristics. We need people who are trustworthy. We need people who are honesty. I don't want to kind of keep on talking like a broken record, really. So I think that's where we are lacking, really. We are lacking. If you want compare those countries that is developed, it's not so much about, yes, I know Taxi Driver, you talked about a system. But for that system to work, Taxi Driver, it has to be, there must be those human factor characteristics I'm talking about. Because if that system, if there's a human factor decay in that system, no matter how good the system is, it can be manipulated. By those who Professor Mararike called suffering from a human factor decay. So I think so that's what I wanted to share. Really, I'm happy to have a further discussion if people want to engage. Thank you. People still here. I was talking to myself. Everyone is gone quiet.
No, I think the next person doesn't know that they're next.
Christopher.
Matthew was
for those who love to read, please. It's the book was published in 1997. It's a very good read for those who really want to understand the mindset, of the challenges that has resulted in Africa, really. And I think Dr. Mararike and Ajbol also, they did a research in various countries in Africa, and they find out those women for all those countries that were struggling, those human factor characteristics were not there. Those countries were victims of what Dr. Mararike called human factor decay. And Dr. Mararike as well, he wasn't.
Go ahead.
Just to finish off, Dr. Mararike again, he said he wasn't human factor. It's not something new. He said he talked about Ubuntu, Unu, and that for someone, he said all these human factor characteristics are what we call Unu or Ubuntu in African context. So we need leaders we have Ubuntu to lead us. It's not so much you may be academically educated, you might speak good English, you might have this, but if you don't have Ubuntu, you won't be able to lead us because you are going to be corrupt. We are going to suffer from your human factor decay. Thank you.
Post on the timeline, please, the book, if you have a screenshot, so that in case, as the conversation goes.
Yes, definitely. I'll post it, definitely. And this book was not written by Europeans; it was written by Africans. So there's no issue about they are telling, they want to educate us. These were Africans who grew up in Africa, who studied the African systems and find out where we're lacking as Africans.
Thank you, Wise Up. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
All right.
Marcy, I think you're next.
Thanks. That sound, is it Captain?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I don't know. That's why I said earlier on, it's a complex question that has so many facets. Some of them are interdependent on each other. Like for me, we can't talk about systems when you haven't got the tools that are required to run that system. And often we have blueprints of systems, and then we don't actually have the tools that are supposed to make that system effective at all. Take, for example, in our electoral process, we attempted to solve a problem of a transparency, and we wanted to use the BVR system. That is a system of recognizing the voters. But then the BVR system as it stands is not a fully utilized in the aspect of what it is for those who know what it was supposed to do. It started to chop and change and adapt it around being poor, So we were just using the bare minimum of what it was, but we were representing it as a BVR system. What was lacking are the tools that are necessary to make the system functional. So right now, we just probably are able to register the citizens on a system called the BVR. But if we ask ourselves, what is biometric about it in that system? Because even from the point of inputting the data itself, it wasn't the biometric identity of the person. In most cases, we were just still taking the person's information on paper and then later on doing something, whatever that was, later on, nobody knows. But those entries were then into the system, which is now called the biometric voter registration. Then what did we use it for at the point of registering your vote? I don't know. After the vote, what did you use that system for? Nobody knows. We are still relying on individuals who were at the polling station and monitoring it with their eyes So we needed thousands of humans. We should have been standing at the polling station. What were they called? Uh, polling station, what you might call it, that were now supposed to have a piece of paper that was stuck outside the room called V11, and then chase it down the stream when it converts to a V20, from a V11 to a V23. And then when it gets to the command center in whatever form,
into
it
an Excel spreadsheet. No,
so
Mazi, I think you missed the point that that was a way of just giving rank cop and with Neumann. It wasn't.
yeah, so yeah,
They-
I'm trying to show. I think I agree to what Texi is touching an aspect of. I used to do in my industry process mapping. Let's map the process, right, to understand the system itself, how it functions, and for what purpose. For me, you can use process mapping for many other things, but for my benefit, it was service improvement. And why was this? Was understanding the system itself and mapping it was so that we can be efficient in discovering where the problem lies if we were to fix it, so that we don't waste time changing everything when maybe it's only a bottleneck in some way along the system. Then we can concentrate on that. But that also requires tools for monitoring and evaluating that system. So a system without the tools that actually monitor it and are able to evaluate, like in your car when you're driving and you're about to run out of fuel, there is a tool in your car that actually tells you how much fuel you've got, how long all those things are important, and other things are flashing on your dashboard.
they are called feedback signals.
Yes. So
Yes.
in Africa, what we lack, besides the leaders themselves applying this human factor of deliberately not putting systems, is so that along the pathway, nobody can know who to hold accountable, the human that did the problem. So we don't use the whole system properly, so that we don't know at what point did it start to leak or start to be ignored, so that people can get away with whatever that they're doing, pass the buck to somebody, or create abstract excuses for what is the causality of this system. Change managers, we don't have them either, because again, the problem is, if you can't monitor the system, you can't evaluate it to decide where it needs to be changed as well. So what we normally do, we let it run out till it is so absolute. We then say, oh, this system doesn't work. And nobody asks, which system have you applied? Example, democracy as a system of choosing leadership in different positions, from a local level to a central level, whatever you call it. So we've never applied democracy. We've got a blueprint of democracy. And we say, oh no, because it's Western. But along the way, there's no respect for it at all, no application to it. So when we fail, we say what failed is the system, the democratic system. Yet there has never been an application of it. So there is no respect for systems. That is what the problem is. Nobody. So the system itself, with the tools, law is as a tool. When we are sometimes accused, disregard for the rule of law, and we move to something different called the rule by law. where you didn't respect the law and what it had been put in there to do. You create a law to accommodate your misdemeanor. Now you're ruling by law. Then when it fails, we say the rule of law doesn't work. Which rule of law have you applied? So I'll end with this because it's a complex thing. And I understand we can never make sense.
Thank you, Marcy.
Let me end by this. The other most problematic thing, and I hate to quote a person who said this, it's disgusting to quote them. And sometimes you think maybe they were right. Cecil John Rhodes once said, the problem with these people is they lack abstract thought. He said a lot of other demeaning things. But now it has become very apparent that we cannot abstractly think. None of us, even in this discussion, has ventured to think of something outside of what is already there. To take a concept and infuse it into that and think laterally and otherwise, it doesn't exist. We tore a line of something which is not related to most things. And then we try and fit it into there and nothing happens. So it's difficult. But again, I would say the reason that doesn't happen is again poverty. Poor people lack critical autonomy. As long as we think from a poor level, poverty is not just the absence of resources. It's the impact of availability of resources to you. The absence of them from yourself has limited you, the human resource, from being able. So unless we improve poverty, we will always have solutions fixed from a poverty perspective. Poor thoughts create poor solutions. There's no country with the number of poor people that has ever created good economics. It doesn't exist anywhere in the world. The common denominator is poverty. Improve that, and even our level of discourse will start to show. But I think that is insulting. Sorry.